Long's Peak. Long's Peak is a high and prominent mountain in the northern Front Range of the Rocky Mountains of North America. The 14,259-foot, 4,346 meters, Fortiner is located in the Rocky Mountain National Park wilderness, 9.6 miles, 15.5 kilometers, southwest by south, bearing 209 degrees, of the town of Estes Park, Colorado, United States. Long's Peak is the northernmost Fortiner in the Rocky Mountains and the highest point in Boulder County in Rocky Mountain National Park. The mountain was named in honor of explorer Stephen Harriman Long and is featured on the Colorado State Quarter. Description: Long's Peak can be prominently seen from Longmont, Colorado, as well as from most of the northern Front Range urban corridor. It is one of the most prominent mountains in Colorado, rising 9,000 feet, 2,700 meters, above the western edge of the Great Plains. The peak is named for Major Stephen Harriman Long, who is said to have been the first to spot the Front Range on June 30, 1820, during an expedition on behalf of the U.S. government. Together with nearby Mount Meeker, with an elevation of 13,911 feet, the two mountains are sometimes referred to as the Twin Peaks, not to be confused with a nearby lower mountain called Twin Sisters. History of ascents. As the only Fortiner in Rocky Mountain National Park, the peak has long been of interest to climbers. The easiest route is not technical during the summer season. It was probably first used by pre-Columbian indigenous people collecting eagle feathers. The first recorded ascent was on August 23, 1868 by the surveying party of John Wesley Powell via the south side. Addie Alexander was the first woman to summit Long's Peak in 1871. The east face of the mountain is 1,675 feet steep and is surmounted by a 1,000 feet steep sheer cliff known as the Diamond, so named because of its shape, approximately that of a cut diamond seen from the side and inverted. Another famous profile belongs to Long's Peak. To the southeast of the summit is a series of rises which, when viewed from the northeast, resembles a beaver. Lumena Wortman Bull was the first woman to summit the east face of the mountain. In 1954, the first proposal made to the National Park Service to climb the Diamond was met with an official closure, a stance not changed until 1960. The Diamond was first ascended by Dave Rearick and Bob Camps that year, by a route that would come to be known simply as D1. This route would later be listed in Alan Steck and Steve Roper's influential book 50 Classic Climbs of North America. The easiest route on the face is the casual route, 5.10a, first climbed in 1977. It has since become the most popular route up the Wool. Clark's Arrow, 4th class, is a climb to the summit of Long's named after John Michael Clark, who was a park ranger in Rocky Mountain National Park in the 1950s. The oldest person to summit Long's Peak was Reverend William Colonel Billy Butler, who climbed it on September 2, 1926, his 85th birthday. In 1932, Claire and Zumi Zumwalt summited Long's Peak 53 times. The record number of ascents to the summit of Long's Peak is 428, by Jim Detterline. Jim was a rescue ranger in Rocky Mountain National Park. On October 23, 2016, he died in an accident while solo climbing. Jim rescued over 1,000 people in the mountains of Rocky Mountain National Park and he received the U.S. Interior Department's Valor Award. He also earned the title, Mr. Long's Peak. http://www.alpinist.com/doc/web16f/newswire Detterline obit. On June 6, 2016, a group of U.S. Special Forces were rescued after members of the team suffered from altitude sickness. Mills Glacier. Long's Peak has one remaining glacier named Mills Glacier. The glacier is located around 12,800 feet, 3,900 meters, at the base of the eastern face, just above Chasm Lake. A permanent snowfield, called the Dove, is located north of Long's Peak. Long's Peak is one of fewer than 50 mountains in Colorado that have a glacier. Climbing Long's Peak. Trails that ascend Long's Peak include the East Long's Peak Trail, the Long's Peak Trail, the Keyhole Route, Clark's Arrow and the Shelf Trail. Only some technical climbing is required to reach the summit of Long's Peak during the summer season, which typically runs from mid-July through early September. Outside of this window the popular Keyhole Route is still open, however, its rating is upgraded to all technical as treacherous ice formation and snowfall necessitates the use of specialized climbing equipment including, at a minimum, crampons and an ice axe. It is one of the most difficult Class 3 Fortiner scrambles in Colorado. The hike from the trailhead to the summit is 8.4 miles, 13.5 kilometers, each way, with a total elevation gain of 4,875 feet. Most hikers begin before dawn in order to reach the summit and return below the tree line before frequent afternoon thunderstorms bring a risk of lightning strikes. The most difficult portion of the hike begins at the Boulder Field, 6.4 miles, 10 kilometers, into the hike. After scrambling over the boulders, hikers reach the keyhole at 6.7 miles, 10.5 kilometers. The following quarter of a mile involves a scramble along narrow ledges, many of which may have nearly sheer cliffs of 1,000 feet, 305 meters, or more just off the edge. The next portion of the hike includes climbing over 600 vertical feet, 183 meters, up the trough before reaching the most exposed section of the hike, the Narrows. Just beyond the Narrows, the notch signifies the beginning of the homestretch, a steep climb to the football field-sized, flat summit. It is possible to camp out overnight in the Boulder Field, permit required, which makes for a less arduous 2-day hike, although this is fairly exposed to the elements. 58 people have died climbing or hiking Long's Peak. According to the National Park Service, 2 people, on average, die every year attempting to climb the mountain. Less experienced mountaineers are encouraged to use a guide for the summit to mitigate risk and increase the probability of a summit. For hikers who do not wish to climb to the summit, there are less involved hikes on the peak as well. Peacock Pool and Chasm Lake are popular hiking destinations and follow well-maintained trails. It is also rewarding to hike just to the Boulder Field, the Keyhole, or the seldom visited Chasm View, the ridge between Mount Lady Washington and the east face of Long's Peak. Camping is available at the Boulder Field and also on the lower portions of the mountain, such as Goblin's Forest next to the stream at the bottom. Technical climbers, with the correct permit, are allowed to use sites at the base of the east face and at Chasm View. It is also possible to camp to the south of the mountain at Sand Beach Lake. In addition to the standard Keyhole route, there are more serious and more technical climbs on Long's Peak. Climbers should seek qualified instruction. Deaths on Long's Peak are an annual occurrence. Some of the more common routes are, in approximate order of popularity. North Face Cables Route. This follows the Keyhole route to the Boulder Field, then ascends the north face of the peak. It requires 1 or 2 pitches of low 5th class climbing, and is often downclimbed or rappelled by technical climbers since it is one of the fastest ways to ascend or descend the peak. In the early 20th century, enterprising guides installed a series of large steel eye bolts along this route, connecting them with a steel cable similar to systems in the Alps. The cables were removed in 1973 due to concerns about their appropriateness, but several of the bolts remain and are used as rappel anchors. Keener's Route, a traditional mountaineering climb that involves a climb of Lamb's Slide, named after Reverend Elkanah Lamb, who unintentionally slid down much of the route in 1871, which is icy later in the season, then an exposed traverse of the Broadway Ledge, and then low 5th class climbing. Via the Loft. The Loft is the semi-permanent snowfield between Long's Peak and its southeastern neighbor Mount Meeker. The saddle provides access to either peak. One such traverse route is Gorrell's Traverse. It is also possible to ascend to the saddle via Lamb's Slide. Via the east face. The east face is the steep, 1,000 plus foot, 305 plus m, wall that includes the diamond in the lower east face. All climbs here are technical, from 5.10 to 5.13. It is also possible to ascend to the climbers left of the diamond face proper. The routes on the right side of the diamond are often aid climbed, and may require spending the night on the wall. The rock here can be very wet. Routes on the left side of the diamond are usually free climbed. Only qualified climbers should attempt climbs on this face, and they should take into consideration the effects of altitude and alpine conditions in addition to the difficulty rating. Via the Notch Couloir. This is a technical climb involving rock climbing and, at some times of year, ice climbing. The Notch Couloir is to the climbers left of the diamond face. Historical names. Highest peak. Les Deux Oreilles, named by French fur traders, or the Two Ears. Long's Peak and Mount Meeker were both once named as Long's Peak, 1890. Long's Peak.